Are you ready to slay?
Always.
Okay. Maddie, do you want to count us down or do you want us to count down?
Oh, what do I count down from? That's the real question.
3.
Okay, then I got 3, 2, 1. Showtime.
Ma. Really warmed up.
Amazing. We're good to go.
That was like the first guest who's actually done it with us, which is
on the first try.
Just notable.
Good job, Maddie.
I had a little bit of time to prepare myself for the concept that I would have to do that. And I made peace.
Yeah, no, everyone else did too. They just thought they could get out of it.
I have learned not to assume that's the case with Jacob.
That's fair. That's fair.
Smart. I need to train my friends better.
There's a bit we're committing.
We're committed to the bet always.
Anyways, hello and welcome to Outside the Search Bar, the podcast where we try to answer questions without using Google. I'm Emily Schubach, and I'm going to turn it over to my brother/co-host, Jacob.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jacob. So each week, Emily and I are going to come prepared with questions that we don't know the answers to. We each have notes on our phones that are filling up with an astounding, yes, astounding. We say it every single week, astounding number of questions, which is honestly a testament to truly how little we know.
Of course, we would be remiss not to take listener questions. So if you have a tough question that you would like us to try to answer on the podcast, send us an email to searchbarpodcast@gmail.com or follow us on socials at searchbarpodcast.
And we have a lot of listener letters that came through, and we're going to be answering some of them today. So get excited. Be excited. Wow. Now that that's over, introducing our 7th ever guest and the second Maddie that we've ever had, which is very exciing. The number one most used name on the guest shows of this podcast, statistically speaking.
Actually.
So introducing my friend Maddie, who I know because we used to work together in marketing, and she's a provisional dungeon master for our game of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes, very provisional, as we have not yet done the first session. So
we had a good practice, like write down what our characters' vibes are.
That we did do, because we one thing we're good at, vibes. Rule books yet to be determined.
It's fine. What were the vibes?
I mean, I would say like very distinct to each person. So at least one person at the table immediately was like, give me sexy, give me evil. And it was like, got it. Okay. And then someone else was like, I want someone like a tinkerer, someone smart. And I was like, okay, this is perfect actually, because I was worried we were all going to come and be like, give me a medieval marketer. And no, we're going to fully lean into the fantasy. We are getting out of this world.
I wanted to be a drag queen ogre, but that wasn't a possibility as far as we know yet.
Drag queen, not a problem. Ogre, however, as far as I know, not one of the.
Yeah.
I really thought the ogre would have been fine and the drag queen part would have been a little questionable.
Yeah. The ogres, they just don't exist in the world of Dungeons and Dragons, allegedly. We don't know for sure.
Adjacent.
But drag queens do exist?
Yeah, why not?
You know, that's one of the fun parts I'm discovering of being like the dungeon master is it's like, yeah, sure. It's like a bard. You know what I mean? It's a very particular kind of bard.
Mm-hmm.
Fabulous. Well, Maddie, can you tell us why you decided to show up to this podcast? Like what compelled you to be here today?
Yes. So I'm going to be honest. I am here to face my fear around being perceived on the internet, and we'll get to this at the end of the show, but I work very hard to be ungoogleable as a person, as an individual. So this is like a healthy adult toe dip into like, yeah, if you Google my name,
this is the only thing that will show up.
Content from me.
Do you understand that the premise of the show is that we look dumb?
Yeah, you know, I was like, this isn't good. Well, we'll start out at like as dumb as you can look on it. This is not true, by the way. Nobody should do this, but I do have some embarrassing videos on the internet that got unearthed in my first ever like corporate client meeting. Like they pulled it up, like a performance of me doing a very embarrassing art form circa freshman year of college. And I think that really burned me. I think I was like, all right, well,
Well, this will heal the burn.
This will heal the burn. This is good. We're all in it together at the very least.
Yes. And for any potential employers who are listening to this, hire Maddie. She's truly the most impressive person I've ever worked with. It's honestly insane how smart she is.
Thank you so much.
See, look, we're already healing the burn.
Yeah, we're healing.
Perfect. So one thing we ask all of our guests is, what's the last thing you searched or something interesting that you searched for this week?
Okay, I'm doing this for myself, for the band 17, and also for your potential social mentions to all the K-pop girlies out there. The last thing I searched for was tickets to the 17 concert. Stream Face the Sun for good health.
Fabulous. And did you get the tickets, Maddie?
I did get the tickets. It was actually a harrowing process, but I will say I think it actually prepared me for this recording session, because all the rules are like, you get let in to this like pre-sale and everyone's just buying as fast as they possibly can, and tickets are disappearing as you're clicking them. So I was reading all of these like nerdy ass Tumblr guides on how to succeed at getting your ticket, and they were like, make sure that you have a secure internet connection. Don't be on your phone, be on your laptop to have the best possible experience. And I was like, in some ways, practice for the podcast I will be doing tomorrow.
I saw on TikTok that if you refresh Ticketmaster 10 seconds before the thing opens, that you'll get put to the front of the queue.
Tell me this now.
I saw it on TikTok, which is the home of like misinformation.
Incredibly reputable information.
But I was like, interesting.
I also tried to purchase tickets today. Pamela wanted to go see a pop-up show in Buffalo, and she's like, I didn't bring my credit card, so can you just get in the queue on Ticketmaster and purchase me 2 tickets for this Sunday? And I logged in, and it's like, there were over 2,000 people in front of you in line. And
it's like, always the 2,000 people.
Always. Who are these 2,000 people who are always in front of? I kind of envision them as being like the same group of people. Like there is a collective unit of 2,000 absolute monsters who are always jumping ahead in whatever line we all want to be a part of. Did you get the tickets though?
No.
Oh, damn.
I let her down.
Well, that takes us to our first segment, which is called What's Trendy, where we discuss the latest Google search trends from the week and give context to what people are searching for, as well as our opinions, because Lord knows we have many of them.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't select any of these 3, but I'm going to start with it's Pride Month, which is very exciting to me as a local homosexual of this podcast.
Gotta have one.
Gotta have one to make a successful podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel stronger. I feel more alive than I have ever before. I love Pride Month. It's just so much fun.
And is this Pride Month feeling particularly lively to you?
Yes. I couldn't tell you why, but it is.
Just hitting particularly hard.
It's hitting particularly hard. I know Rebecca Black is playing at the Pride Festival in LA, and I really want to see Rebecca Black. So that's really what's propelling me through Pride Month right now. But beyond that, who knows?
Does Rebecca Black still produce music?
Yes. And she's like very gay now. And she made a remix of Friday, not unafraid to sample herself. I'm like, incredible work.
We love self-referential art.
It's like a remix with like Big Frida, 303 and Dorian Electra. So it's a very eclectic mix of people. But let me tell you, if you listen to that on Friday at 7 a.m., waking up in the morning.
That'll start you off high energy, high impact.
Exactly. We love
It's also a lineup that's like, I am gay now, just to be absolutely clear, just to leave no ambiguity in the conversation.
She is our like dream guest host for Gay Court. And I truly just want her to be on the podcast. We tag her on every Friday. We're like, Rebecca Black, please see this. And she hasn't seen it yet. But one day she
it's
will.
Coming.
Ryan actually tags a lot of like strange people in our Instagram. Like he tagged Bowen Yang, and he tagged like Spotify podcasts, and they've like looked at our stories and like, this is simultaneously incredible and embarrassing.
I feel like that's what self-promotion is.
To get Bowen Yang to look at you.
Yeah, a little bit embarrassing, but
here I am.
On a podcast. Me, accept it.
Do either of you want to talk about any of the other trends that we found?
Okay, I will say this. Somebody hitting the Mona Lisa with cake.
Happy Pride Month.
It's to me so funny. And I've seen so many thoughtful TikToks and tweets and people being like, we need to respect like art and art institutions and like whatever. And I just am like, why are we all taking this shit so seriously? If the world's going to end in, somewhere in our lifetimes, which I fully believe it will, then I'm like, please, let's throw cake at the Mona Lisa. It's very funny.
And like, it hit the glass in front of
the bulletproof glass.
It's always fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So like, kind of clickbaity, honestly, because I was like, oh no, it got messy. And it's just literally some glass.
Those two freaky twins took a selfie in front of it before that. And I'm like, now see, that feels way more degrading to the Mona Lisa.
That is true.
I didn't understand though, because wasn't he was it climate change?
Yes.
I didn't understand the parallel, or if it was just like, this will grab people's attention and then I can use that platform.
I think it was to grab people's attention. Or maybe he was on a podcast where he's not allowed to Google things. And he was trying to answer the question, does bulletproof also mean cake proof? And he found it out.
It does. Because we don't have to only to think of a new question.
Incredible vibes, honestly.
Truly.
Well, we also have a good number of listener questions that have come in. We were recently featured on Spotify podcast in the comedy section, #fame. And it brought in a lot of listener questions. And by a lot, I mean like 3.
2 came from the same person.
2 came from the same person.
But that's okay.
But I think the first listener question we should talk about is the spam one, which I think is hilarious.
It's so funny. And we're obviously going to answer it.
Yes.
Because we're polite like that.
So the subject was urgent, which immediately caught my eye. And the body copy read, "Dear friend, greetings to you. I am Mr. Amaki Ramba, and I am contacting you because government officials from Africa, Middle East, and Asia usually deposit huge sums of funds with ghost company names for us to transfer into foreign bank accounts."
Yikes.
But yes, exactly. Yikes.
It's a big yikes.
Yikes.
You're doing really good at the commentary, Maddie. Okay, anyways, it continues, but cannot provide complete corresponding requirements needed. Many have abandoned their funds into our custody. With this privilege I encountered, I am seeking your partnership, Search Bar Podcast's partnership, and help to receive this fund into your account. The amount involved is USD $41.6 million in an abandoned fund with no one to lay claim on it. The depositor died years ago.
All right, so is it the racist government trope, or is it that there's a dead guy who died?
Dead guy.
I have a preference, but
pick a story. I cross-check his file. No next of kin. I will use my position in bank as senior staff to move or transfer the fund to your account for mutual benefit of both of our families. I will give you further details upon receipt of your reply. Best regard, Mr. Amaki Ramba. Have a great day. Emily, how would you respond to our first listener letter?
I mean, $41.6 million is pretty nice.
Please acquire our podcast for $41.6 million.
Right? Like, I didn't think we would get our first partnership this early on, but I'm flattered. That said, I'm not comfortable giving out my bank information to a listener. So please, no one else follow up and ask again.
I truly hope that they got the email from listening to our podcast, because that would be iconic.
That would be iconic. Imagine this is real when you hear of like another podcast that became ridiculously wealthy from this independent fund.
You know, fair.
I would accept it.
Maddie,
any final thoughts as our acting business manager on this episode?
Yeah, so is it too late for me to get equity in the podcast before you sponsor $42 million? Or could we talk about that after this?
We can talk about it after this. It all letters into Perfectly Done Toast podcast productions. Anyways, so our next listener question comes from Emily W. with the subject line, "I need answers," all caps. But her first question was, why do we even have fingernails and toenails? What's the purpose?
Really good question, Emily. And just to clarify, it wasn't me, I promise.
Yes, it was Emily W, not Emily S.
You tried super hard to come up with a pseudonym, just switch that last initial.
You don't know, okay. I assume, well, okay, so like other animals also have fingernails and toenails, so clearly there is some utility in it. Okay. I'd assume it has something to do with like digging or like breaking things. my head went to like opening a pistachio shell. You definitely need nails for that.
That is true. Or you could use a rock, but
I'm like, are those just the parts of our bodies that we are most often like touching, like literally touching things with? Like over time, enough humans stubbed their toes and enough other creatures with nails stubbed their toes that evolution was like, you know what?
Let's harden these things up a little bit.
Take care of this.
It's probably good for like scratching and like self-protection to some degree as well. Also, I think when I was like about 4 years old, oh my God, you remember this, Emily? You remember this?
Oh,
when we were at Brennan's. We were at Brennan's. Oh my God. Brennan's in Buffalo, New York. Incredible restaurant if you're ever there. And it was a Sabres playoff game. The Buffalo Sabres is a hockey team for those of our listeners who don't know, because probably most of them don't. Because not really a sports audience, unfortunately. If you do, great. And so it's a Sabres playoff game. And we were at Brennan's, and Brennan's has like a lot of like stuffed animal heads around the restaurant. So I was like, I want to go see the bison. And so I was going around the table and I was like, Mom, moving your chair. And she jumped her chair up onto my toe.
And they were like big, heavy wooden chairs.
Yes. Yeah. And she rips off my toenail. And of course, I start screaming. And they're like taking ice out of the cups and like putting it on my toe to like solve it. And I like have this like vivid memory, like very vivid, of like tears like streaming down my face. And this lady at the table next to us was just like looking at us with like a look of shock and disgust on her face. And at 4 years old, I had like the mindfulness to just like be thinking in my head while I was crying, what the fuck is that lady looking at? God, leave us alone.
Like, man, you are surrounded by dead animals. Human child blood is
I was like, give us some privacy as I have this horrific moment in my lifetime.
Like, clearly it's formative because we are here how many years later still talking about it.
Anyways, I went to the emergency room and the rest of the family went to the Sabres playoff game, which was really great. And then I had like not even a cast, like they just wrapped up my toe for like a couple of like probably a month or two, I don't really know. And it was uncomfortable. So it was uncomfortable to not have a toenail for that amount of time.
I've been watching a lot of Old Enough. The show where small Japanese children, like under the age of 5, go and run errands all by themselves. And the way you phrase that makes me feel like you had to walk your way to the ER all by yourself.
No, my mother went with me.
Okay. Mom also missed the Sabres game.
Shout out to Pamela. The code word is toenail. We put a code word in to make sure she's listening. She always is, which is great. But we'll see if she figures out toenail. Anyways. Back to the question of why do we even have fingernails and toenails? Protection and opening things.
Weaponry.
And maybe self-defense.
Yeah.
Yes. And if we didn't have them, then we'd all just have hot dog fingers, like in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
And that seemed really unpleasant, not gonna lie. I mean, you know, still have human love and connection, it turns out, in that universe, but I wasn't like, let's go visit, you know?
That's true. Emily, are you Googling?
I'm Googling it. I almost forgot that we did this part. And it was like, oh, those poor girls.
You'll never know.
We just guess, and good luck if you want to find out.
You can literally look it up yourself. The short answer is we have evolved to have nails because they help us pick things up like food, pick things off like bugs, and hold tightly onto things.
So rock climbing and pistachios.
Yeah.
So if your fingernails are shorter, do you not have as good of a grip, or like what's the optimal grip length for your fingernails? Like what would an Olympian or like American Ninja Warrior cut their nail length to? Probably short.
I would think pretty like short enough that you can't get any like leverage under the nail to like rip it off or break it.
Right.
Yeah. You don't want to get any like rocks or anything underneath your nails.
Piano player length, you know, where it's not just like tic-tac and
yeah. The more I think about it, nails are kind of disgusting.
They're horrifying, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't hate them, so you don't have to like think too hard about how horrifying it is that you've got thick skin.
Yeah, you got pretty nail polish that has like flowers on it. You're like, yay, this isn't terrible.
You know when you're on the internet and it's got one of those little pop-up ads and the pop-up ad is like something horrifyingly disgusting, and at least one of them is always curing your foot fungus.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like there should be a law against this. I mean, I know we're all debating free speech on the internet all the time and whatever, but I think we could draw the line at the foot fungus ads. I'm comfortable with
we can all agree on that one.
Sorry to those of you who have foot fungus. And if any foot fungi, brand things want to like sponsor us, we will still do it.
Listen, it's an audio medium, so that's okay.
Yes.
Except for the video that also goes
Except
along with it.
You have to like hold up a picture of foot fungus for that portion of the podcast.
We will sell feet pits. Anyways.
Now that we answered that question.
Thank you for your question, Emily W. We really appreciate your listenership and look forward to hearing more questions from everyone in the future. And with that takes us to the bread, the butter of the podcast, the question and answer, where Jacob and Emily and Maddie bring questions that we need to solve. So, Emily, do you want to start? Do you want me to start?
You can start. I think I went first last time.
Fabulous. My question is, are there chickens literally everywhere in the world? And I thought this because I was making chicken with my boyfriend, and I was like, I wonder if everybody in the world has chicken. I assume the answer is yes, that there are chickens everywhere. But I'm like, are there? Follow-up question, though. Are chickens, or like what animal is like the second most populous animal? Obviously, like not bugs or like whatever. But like I would assume like people are like the most populous creature.
Oh, that's an interesting question.
And then I'm like, would chickens be the second most populous creature, or do chickens outnumber us?
Okay, there's so many questions in there. Should we start?
I think chickens have to outnumber us. Let's start at the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there chickens literally everywhere in the world? I would assume yes. Even in Antarctica, like I would assume Antarctica, like they have something to like keep the chickens alive, keep them warm, and make eggs.
So you're like artificially humans could have chosen to take chickens with them everywhere.
Yes.
Imagine being a scientist who's like, I get to go explore Antarctica. Let me pack my bag. And you put a chicken in your suitcase.
I was going to say, I'm going to come down pretty hard on no.
You don't think there's chickens in the Antarctica bases?
No.
Maddie has traveled to the Arctic, so I guess you would know.
I have, which is on the other pole. So the Arctic is the North Pole and the Antarctica.
Yes, I know this.
Right. So
did you see a chicken?
Can confirm no sighted chickens, though I will say the Arctic at the very least does have significantly more people living in it than Antarctica. So it would not surprise me to know that there are folks keeping chickens in the Arctic. Because if you think about it, you got like northern Canada, but you've also got northern Europe and parts of northern
Greenland.
Yeah, I'm just like someone up there, they got a chicken.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
However, so do scientists at the South Pole have chickens? No, I don't.
Well, the question then becomes, are there chickens on every continent? Which I would assume like the main, like the most populated ones, yes. And like the real question is, are there chickens in Antarctica?
Yeah, I don't think there are.
You don't think there's at least one chicken in there who's just like,
no,
they don't keep
so inefficient.
What if they want eggs? Like, how would they eat things?
They do get shipments. This is where I reveal the fact that I knew a guy in high school who worked as a general handy person / janitor at one of the research stations in Antarctica. And
in high school?
He was older than me.
Oh, okay.
He was the guy who received their like shipments of food and medical supplies, and I think they like have a lot of that stuff sent to them.
That sounds so fun. Like, what a fun job. Not really fun because it's cold, but like fun.
You're telling me that you were in high school and you somehow crossed paths with the inventory receiver of Antarctica.
Yeah, where were you that you met him?
He has like I'm going to assume he's now moved on. But the lifestyle he had was so idyllic to a version of myself where like in the summer he was a camp counselor at this like very gnarly camp that I used to do, which is how I got to the Arctic in the first place. And he would lead these big like 30-day plus trips. And then he would, go down and make a bunch of money during the Antarctic summer, which is the North American winter. and he would just like bunk down there, and you can't spend your money anywhere, obviously. So he would just bank money while he was down there. And then he would come back and go back to being like a guy who just took trips, a guy who just camped around.
That does sound very idyllic.
Yeah, I'm sold.
See the world.
I will say the one thing for this group in particular that I think would be challenging is you couldn't like call anybody or go on the internet unless like a particular satellite was immediately overhead, because why would you service that area with internet 24 hours a day all the time? So it would be like you'd have to wait until it was coming over to like call home. And I'm like, no, see, that I think would be very challenging for me.
I'm not doing it anymore.
How would we have our podcast?
I rescind my application.
Well, I mean, they probably have like a Starlink or something now, maybe.
It's been 10 years, something, yeah.
Probably.
Hotspot.
Okay, so our hypothesis is that you guys think there's not chickens in Antarctica. I think there are. Next question is, do we think there are more chickens than humans?
I do. Because I eat a lot of chicken. It's a lot of chicken to person ratio.
That's true.
But do you think there's like that many alive at once? No offense to chickens or vegetarians.
Yeah.
I know rats out. I think rats outnumber humans. I actually think they're the most persistent species all around Earth. I think they are on every continent. I think. But I don't know about chickens. I feel very confident about rats if that was the question.
No, I think
I know one thing and one thing only. Rat populations.
I do eat a lot of chickens. So I agree with Emily that they probably outnumber us. And they are making a second Chicken Run movie. So maybe the chickens will take us over.
Okay, I'm going to say
the dominant species.
I think there are probably, in a course of a year, more chickens alive than humans. But at any given moment, I don't know that I think that there are more chickens alive than humans, if that makes sense.
Okay, we'll do a three. Everybody gets a guess. How many chickens do you think are alive right now? I'm going to guess 24 billion, which is 3 for every person.
Oh,
that doesn't make any sense. That's too many chickens.
14 billion.
14 billion?
Yeah.
That's a lot of chickens.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you have to count like chicks and like the babies too.
Mm-hmm.
Madeline?
I'll go 8, 8, 7, 8, somewhere right around where we are. 6.
So Jacob said 23. I said 14.
I said
Maddie
24.
said 7 to 8. A range. You said 24? Okay. I wrote it down in the Google Docs, so it's locked in.
Perfect. Are there chickens in Antarctica? The first one was in Alaska, but we'll go for Antarctica. The only country without live chickens. Let's take a guess. Which country do we think does not have live chickens?
Truly?
Madagascar.
No. Incorrect.
Iceland.
No, also incorrect. The Vatican. which is a sneaky country. That one doesn't really count.
That's sneaky.
The Pope needs to get some chickens, whatever. And the only continent without them is Antarctica. So apparently there are no chickens in Antarctica.
That's a shame.
Okay, let's see. How many chickens?
Google. Oh, I
looked
looked it up.
Okay.
Jacob is the winner. There are 25.9 billion chickens.
Wow.
Look at all those chickens.
This was posted April 30th, 2021. So
the numbers could be
even
going
the
up.
2022, April 27th, still says 25.9 billion chickens. So the chicken population is stagnating.
But it is big.
It's big.
It's a lot of chickens.
More than people.
That's 3 chickens per person.
Okay, this is going to tip me off on this whole thing on industrial agriculture. I'm like, where are all these chicken? You know what I mean? Like we never. It just is weird. Like I don't.
Truly.
It's great. We hide our industrial agriculture in the United States to make sure no one can see it. Blah 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 blah. But I'm like, where are the chickens?
We have like a whole an army, like a full legion of chickens just around.
Turns out.
Horrifying. We have like a close to 1 billion chickens in the United States. If we're just multiplying by 3. That's wild.
It's making me think of Chicken Run. You know what
chickens
I mean?
are proportionally distributed across the globe.
I mean, assuming. We realistically probably have more because we love chicken. We have KFC, baby. So I feel like my question has been sufficiently answered. Emily, would you like to share your question with the group?
I would love to. So my question is if you're a woman on birth control and that birth control prevents you from ovulating, are you just prolonging menopause?
Interesting.
Maddie nodded yes. There's our answer. Let's
go. This is where I reveal as a woman in her late 20s how little I understand my own body.
Fair.
Honestly,
because I'm like, same. I know that you're born with all the eggs you ever have. Like, I know that, which, like, the core of the question, sure. The answer, not sure.
Yeah, because like, is menopause like you ran out of eggs, or is it just like a general hormonal change because you get older?
Ooh, as a homosexual male who knows literally nothing about the female body, maybe.
I do want to say, like, because I was thinking about this and I was like, aging is so weird, right? Like, all of your body just sort of starts to slow down and the processes generally get slower, is my understanding. It's like harder to build new muscle. It's harder to change whatever. I am like, does your body eventually, and if this is what happens, then I'm like, yeah, I'm totally understood. Eventually just be like, and fuck that. Because if you got a baby right now, it'd be bad. Like, your body's just like, yeah, we don't, nothing about this would bounce back from that experience. So we're done.
That makes sense. But like with the, if you're stopping the ovulation, does the egg just stay in there? Or listen, I don't know. I don't know anything about birth control.
You bring up the horrifying question, how many eggs are in a person, like a cis female body when it dies? Like, that's what you're really asking, and it horrifies me.
Does it just stay in there? Or does like the birth control?
Yeah, I think it just doesn't come out of your ovary.
It prevents it from coming out of the ovary?
I think some of them do, right?
Don't know a damn thing about how birth control. This really is a question of like, how does birth control work? We just be taking pills and just trying whatever.
Well, because like, okay, so I've never actually been on birth control, but like, when you come off birth control, like, does your body just sort of like overcompensate? Is it like, all right, party city, like, let's go? Like, we got a lot of like shit we haven't been doing for the last couple of years.
You're 8 eggs. Like, and that's how we got the octo babies.
Oh.
Science.
But you can also extract eggs. Like, you can freeze your eggs. So you can take eggs out if you want to.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going with this point.
I wonder how that works. You're right.
Yeah, because I used to get targeted ads all of the time. Like, right when I graduated college, I'm like, hey, do you want to donate your eggs? And I was like, do I? They're like, it's $10,000. And I'm like, but then I realized,
per egg?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So like, wow. I Googled it then because I'm like, what does this really mean? And are they just going to cut open my body and steal my organs?
Yeah.
And it's like a whole like, it's like a whole extensive process. I think there's like a lot of like vitamins and hormones, that kind of stuff that you have to go on for like months. I think it's a pretty invasive surgery too. Yeah. And then I also realized I was like, oh, like if I'm giving people my eggs, like then I can't have them later. So
that is true.
How many eggs are women born with?
At least 12.
No, what do you mean at least 12?
You mean I'm not wrong?
Well, like the Duggar woman had like 27 babies.
Yeah.
Well, because if you let's say you shed, because your period is, you're shedding your uterine lining, not
right. Well, so ovulation happens like halfway between.
Right.
Wait, ovulation happens between periods?
Yeah, because the egg releases and the egg's trying to get like impregnated. And if it does, it's like, I'm going to sit in this like juicy, bloody uterus and like get some nutrients.
Oh, wow.
But if it doesn't, then the uterus is like, why did I waste all of this time generating this stuff? Get out.
I love that we're an educational podcast because I learned so much stuff on this podcast. It's not even funny.
I should be a health teacher.
It's like when you're stressed, you can miss your period a couple of times. And like, it just seems to happen very normally and very casually. Like, get unstressed and then that's, we're all good. We don't move on. But the fertility conversation doesn't really come up.
It really doesn't.
Okay, I'm going to say it's your body just being like, yeah, if you got pregnant right now and had a kid, it would be bad. So like, we're just not going to do that anymore. And you just sit with the eggs you've got left, I guess. And
so you're saying menopause will happen as it was like predetermined to, regardless of if.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying. I think your menopause is responding to different signals in the body than.
Yeah, I would assume it's like another version of puberty where it's like once you hit a certain point, like your body just starts doing it.
I think it would affect when you have menopause, but only on like the absolute extremes. So like if you compare a person who has never been on birth control to a person who has always been on like an ovulating stopping birth control, then I think you might see a difference of like the non-ovulating person having
love this
later.
Hypothesis for me who has yet to take birth control, because I'm like, let's get this shit over with. And I mean, let's hit the late 30s and go through menopause. I'll be done.
Just call it a day.
Well, I hear it's not a terribly pleasant process.
You would think that they would tell you this before you go on birth control, though.
Yeah, I think doctors have a long and storied history of not telling women things before they give them drugs.
No.
Sounds about right, unfortunately. I don't really have a hypothesis.
I don't have ovaries.
I have no idea how that works. But I'm gonna assume it's like second puberty is my guess of like certain hormones just start forming and it causes you to go into menopause.
Interesting. Okay, if you're on a birth control that stops ovulation, does that prolong menopause?
Hope Edward Cullen doesn't show up. Ooh.
We just lost power.
What? How are you still on?
You just turned them off.
That was some like quarantine inspired horror movie shit. Like
we
three
had
friends are on a Zoom and all of a sudden the lights go off.
Wow.
Short answer, no.
Really?
Yeah. Menopause is a time, correct, when your ovaries stop producing estrogen and your female hormone reserves are depleted. So you guys were right. It just kind of happens.
Your female hormone reserves?
Yeah. Like estrogen.
Got it. Is there any correlation between like your eggs running out and your hormones running out or producing?
I don't think so.
Why are you trying to make Emily Google more stuff right now?
I have questions, Maddie. I have lots of thoughts.
I guess just do women run out of eggs? Okay. I assume you do.
I'm gonna start Googling. How many eggs do women have?
Let the Googling
Most
begin.
females have about 1 to 3 million eggs. So I guess we are not waiting for us.
No.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Ew. I don't know why that really doesn't sit well with me, because I just think millions and millions of eggs, and I think I just get like a frog egg imagery. What do they look like just in my body? If I'm literally born with them, what could that possibly mean? Like,
I'm just confused because the same article says by the time of a girl's first menstrual period, they have an average of 400,000 eggs. So where are these millions of eggs?
What is the source of this article?
Oh my God.
WebMD.
Oh boy.
Clevelandclinic.org says,
Good choice.
Mm-hmm.
at birth, there are roughly 1 million, and by time blah, blah, of time of puberty, only 300,000 remain. Of these, only 300 to 400 will be ovulated during a woman's reproductive lifetime.
Oh, wow.
Fertility can drop as a woman ages due to decreasing number and quality of the remaining eggs. Quality. Love the idea that like some of them are just no good.
Is it like how the sperm fight and like the strong ones actually impregnate you? So like the eggs fight and they're like, I'm gonna leave now.
I'm going, girlies.
Honestly, way more relatable than getting into like fisticuffs. It's like, I don't like this. Bye.
Love that our understanding of human biology is I'm leaving. Bye.
Bye.
Beautiful, beautiful. So smart. Thank you, 10th
I
grade
had
biology.
no idea we had that many eggs.
Who would have known?
Oh, we can't trust 10th grade health class. Do you remember the substitute or the student teacher I had?
No.
I had a student teacher who came in and she was teaching a health class and she wasn't very good. And she started, started to discuss scrotal discharge. And she like talked about it for a really long time. And then the actual teacher's just sitting in the back, like writing up her report. And she's like, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt. The scrotum does not produce any discharge. Like, that is not real. Please don't. And then my favorite part was like at the end of the semester, we had like a anonymous question sort of thing that you can put in. So I, as a smartass that I wrote, what is scrotum discharge? And when I tell you that this teacher like fell over from laughter, and like she lost it and she's like, guys, I'm not mad, but I need to know, like, I know I said it was anonymous, but I need to know who wrote that. And then I'm just sitting in the back of the class and like I was super awkward and I did not want to participate in health class. Like, oh my god, no, we don't talk about our bodies. I don't know how many eggs I have. Like, stop, don't call me. I just like slowly raised my hand and I broke that teacher. She couldn't look at me.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Making it through 10th grade health class.
What a way to go out. End of the school year, you're like, you're not going to forget me for a minute.
Nope. It was just too perfect.
Our childhoods where Emily talked about scrotum discharge, I lost a toenail, and Maddie had a beautiful trip to the Arctic. And here we all are on the same podcast.
Amazing. What does that say about us?
Some of us have risen, some of us have fallen. We won't say who did what.
What does that say about society? Emily, do you feel like your question was sufficiently answered?
Yeah, I was very surprised by the answer, but I now know it.
We're an education podcast.
Incredible learning.
Nightmares about the idea that there are like hundreds of thousands of eggs somehow inside of me.
Right?
Well,
here we are.
Thanks for coming on the podcast.
With that, did you bring a question that you would like us to answer, Maddie?
I did bring a question. So I was watching a documentary about diamonds, and like diamonds come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. And I was also watching this TikTok that was like, please do not get a heart-shaped diamond for your engagement ring, you tacky assholes. And I was like, true. And then I was like, how do you get the diamond into a heart? I assume you have to like shave some misshapen diamond down into the shape that you want it to, which would then imply that you are just getting little bits of diamond all over the place. And I am just like, how much diamond mass do we lose per year making shaped diamonds? What do we do with that? Do you recycle diamond? Do you just throw it away? That's so much precious material. It just seems very wasteful. I was like, this is insane.
I think the diamond industry is a scam. So they definitely just chip that off and probably throw it out, honestly.
Honestly, that's the documentary. They were like, yeah, this is all completely fake.
Fake. Let's discuss the gold standard next, because that also seems really fake to me.
Fake shit with precious metals.
If we don't understand it, it's fake. Which is also true. I thought that heart-shaped diamonds were just heart-shaped naturally.
When's the last time you got a good look at like an engagement ring?
I've been watching Ugly Betty, and Daniel Meade, don't know his real name, proposed to, her name is Sophia in the show. What's her name in real life? Salma Hayek, I believe. And it looks like a heart. And I was like, oh, that's just how it's made. Like in the earth. I'm now getting
this precious mineral and shape it into a marketable product.
me as an empath, I'm picking up on vibes that diamonds aren't heart shaped.
Well, okay, because we've all heard that like diamonds are super hard, and the only thing that can cut diamond is other diamond, which is a whole other thing. Because I'm like, I don't understand how that's supposed to work in the first place. But I'm like, can you collect all of the shavings and turn it into a tool of some, like, even if you couldn't put it together into something you could sell?
That sounds like some Dungeons and Dragons shit.
Yeah.
Some diamond sandpaper though, like that could be fun.
But what would you be sanding?
Other diamonds, I guess.
Yeah, furniture in your home with some Lowe's diamond standard.
Sort of into like, is it like a self-feeding industry? Like,
well, do they cut them with other diamonds still, or do they use like lasers?
I assume lasers.
Oh, I pictured like a rotating saw. Like a tiny one.
Made out of diamonds. I mean, I guess.
So did we answer your question?
I don't even really know what my Googleable question, which I think was how much diamond do we lose per year just by shaving that shit off? I think is literally exactly how I phrased it. Probably not super helpful for.
I honestly feel like we could lose up to 50% of the diamond if it's like a really funky shaped diamond.
Yeah, I bet you're right. Well, so then, okay, so follow-up question though.
Are diamonds shaped like diamonds?
I'm unclear on what you think the diamond shaping process is. Like,
what is it like when you harvest a diamond? We'll call it harvesting because I don't really know how that works.
Mining.
Is it just
spelunking?
When you harvest a diamond, is it just a big diamond that's like?
I mean, I don't think it's that big.
Diamonds, or like how big are the diamonds?
I would guess like I think it varies, and that's obviously why like the larger carats are way more expensive.
But they do come in like various size chunks, but like you don't just stick the chunk in a piece of jewelry. You shape it into a teardrop or a circle.
Right. But you're not getting like a diamond the shape of a baseball and turning that into like 300 diamonds.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
They're like relatively diamond size.
Should we go to Jared? Should we call
Go
Jared?
to Tiffany.
Oh my God, market research.
Should we call Tiffany's right now?
True.
I have a question about the diamond shaping process.
Doesn't Tiffany have like their own cut? Isn't that like what their bit is?
I think so. A Tiffany diamond. And it comes in.
Or is that a specific diamond?
I'm not sure. We don't know anything about diamonds. Is diamonds the hardest thing on earth?
I remember hearing that. It's like
it's number 10 on the Morse scale. Is that the hardness scale?
Oh.
I was gonna say the Richter scale, but I know that's wrong because that's
earthquakes. Knowing things.
Wow. No, see here we go. Here I'm like, now what am I reading?
Oh no, we made the guest Google her own question.
How inconsiderate of us.
It is that hard to make me
I briefed her beforehand. I was like, we'll do it for you. And she did it anyways.
I was getting to the point where I was like, all right, I got to know the answer to this.
You need to know. They're taking too long.
Okay.
They're taking too long to think.
Wait, yeah.
Their brains are too slow.
We've got a 50% guess from Emily. Jacob, how much diamond do you think we lose a year?
Oh, percentage wise? I would say maybe like 30%.
I might not be able to answer this question from this current thing. I just want you all to know that I was looking it up and it was like, yeah, you cleave it with a laser and then you split the diamond with a steel blade, which again does not compute with my understanding of how diamonds work.
What is your source?
Okay, fine, I'll get off Wikipedia. But
no, Wikipedia is a great source. We love Wikipedia.
Diamond cutting is the name of the Wikipedia article. So I was like, this seems...
Yeah, that seems fair.
But it does say in order to cut a diamond round, which I guess is called brooding, modern era diamonds are rounded using either a laser, a diamond disc impregnated with diamonds.
That sounds like, what do you call it? A rotating saw.
It does sound like a rotating saw. I'm really stuck on diamond disc impregnated with diamonds as a phrase.
It's like there's a functional disc that actually does the cutting, but they also glammed it out a little bit.
Yeah, so it is two diamonds cutting against each other. So that answers that part of the question. 1/10 of a millimeter, blah, 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 blah. Doesn't really say how much you lose, though. Oh, wait. A diamond cutter will lose up to 5 to 10% of total weight.
Oh.
That's not that bad. That's efficient.
I am like, what do we do with all the dust? Diamond dust? That feels dangerous. If we just learned that you can cut diamonds with diamonds, then I'm like, does diamond dust, like if you get it in your eyes, is that
like breathe it in?
Really bad?
Probably.
Okay, I'm watching a YouTube video about it, and it looks like this guy is using some type of contraption on it. It like looks like he's got like diamond dust, so to speak, on like a turntable, like on a record. And he just like slams that shit onto the record and then examines it under his little eyeglass thing and like just keeps slamming it onto the thing to like shape it the way he wants it to shape. So I think that's what it means by the rotating whatever.
Gotcha. Interesting. Also, I looked it up and it's Mohs hardness scale. MOHS.
Oh.
I was close.
Looking that up.
Now I want to just like pick out someone else's engagement ring. You know what I mean? Like I'm ready now. I feel equipped to say, let's go look at some diamond shapes for real.
Okay, so what you're saying is you want to go to brunch this weekend, have a couple mimosas, and end up at Jared's together, posing as a couple.
That is absolutely correct.
Great. It's on my vision board. It's on my calendar. I'm ready to go.
Sunday.
Perfect. Maddie, do you feel like that has sufficiently answered your question?
I think so. Yeah.
Fabulous. Wow. Look at us learning things about the human body, chickens, and diamonds.
Incredible.
The range of this podcast.
We went on a journey today. We had a diverse group of topics.
Yes, we absolutely did. And you don't get that on most podcasts. So thanks for listening. That, unfortunately, though, does bring us to the saddest part of the show. Wah, wah, wah. The end. Sad. I think we did a really good job. And if you guys at home listening, enjoyed it, be sure to find us on social at Search Bar Podcast. And my handle is I got Shubach, IGOTSCHUPBACH across all platforms.
And if you have a listener question, or if you want to try to solicit our bank account information, you can email us at searchbarpodcast@gmail.com. No promises on the money.
We're about to get so many phishing attempts. And I just be clicking on links. Like,
also, feel free to review us on whatever platform you are listening to this podcast on. Maddie, what else do you want people to know about you? What can they Google about you after today?
Please don't Google me. However, you have advice for a burgeoning young dungeon master, please submit that to searchbarpodcast.gmail. Say it again. This is a great chance to plug it over.
Searchbarpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Or you can tweet it at me and I'll DM it to Maddie.
Well,
on her private account that you cannot find.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much for being a guest, Maddie. It's been an absolute pleasure learning about diamonds with you.
Greatest honor of my life, you guys. Thanks for having me on.
We're glad.
Yay.
Yay. See you guys in a couple weeks.
Bye.
And bye.
Outside the Search Bar is a Perfectly Done Toast podcast production.